Well, it's sunny, but it is far from warm here in Ohio. 9 degrees Fahrenheit. That would be chilly on the Celsius scale also. I wasn't in a big hurry today because I knew they were only moving the babies a little bit, mile and a half or so quick just to get them out of the stall. And as far as the racehorses, just getting them all jogged up. The only two that I was in that I wanted to pay very close attention to today were Yo Mister and Agent Black. Noted appears Agent Black won't be racing on Thursday. A little bit sick, no coughing, but some mucus leaving his feet a little bit, just a little down, right? And with him, there's no gray area. He's a very mild bleeder. We have it under control. His last two starts, they had nothing to do with bleeding and everything to do with his liver. But by not racing him, it gives us another week to work on his liver. And at the same time, as I just said, he can be a mild bleeder once in a while in the hottest days or the coldest days. And quite frankly, if he is not 100% healthy, that will only wane on that on the forward progress we've made in that regard. So it just makes no sense to attempt to race him on Thursday. I just know where we're headed with this. And again, today I was updated, picked away at his breakfast, ate most of it. That's not him, right? So he's a little down in the dumps. The other horse was Yo Mister, which I was so frustrated with. We get 2 qualifiers into him. He looked great in the qualifiers. I was very happy with him. Got him in to go. I was torn Meadows or Miami Valley with him. We chose Miami Valley. The class looked pretty good. I think he's 9-2. But again, may not be at 100% health. And I know our clients are just on one thing after another with this guy. Not really, right? It's 2 totally different things. The horse qualified well. We prepped him twice. He was ready to go. And as I said, the weather right now, it rained all last week, right? He qualified in the mud. It rained all last week. Now you have this deep freeze that's back. It is going to play a role, not just with the racehorse, but some of the babies. And, I've instructed everybody in the barn, be vigilant. I want to make sure that all the horses we have a firm. Now, there are some horses. They're going to eat good. They're not going to have a temperature. There's going to be no snot, no coughing. You go to race them, they're going to be a little flat. You scope them after, you're going to see mucus. It's inevitable. You're going to find that once in a while. And so, I always love getting these questions because I like answering them. And people say, well, there's no possible way the horse showed no signs of sickness. You have to understand, they're competing against other horses that may not be sick at all. All the other horses may be at 100% health. Maybe we're at 92% health. Well, that 8% you might think they might be able to overcome, but it's not always that easy, right? So it's not easy to tell when your horse is a tiny bit under the weather until you ask them to race against horses that are not under the weather. So, as I said, I've just asked all of our caretakers, and I'll reiterate that today when I do get to the barn. Vigilance. Be vigilant when it comes to the horses. I need to know if there's anything out of the ordinary. So does Jason. Get it to him, and then he can talk to Dr. Latessa about what their plans are moving forward. And they're just trying to be proactive with respect to Agent Black and Yo Mister. Now, Agent Black, likely, he's not racing on Thursday, but Yo Mister is certainly not. That story has not been told just yet. Talking about stories told, we don't have the blood work back on NASA. Dr. Latessa came in yesterday a little bit later and said, well, the lab's not going to do his blood till tomorrow morning anyway. Why don't we just do it tomorrow morning so it's fresh and have it over to the lab, which was fair. If his blood comes back very good, there's a good chance you're going to see him in the preferred sale on Monday. There's nothing I hate more than buying a horse, and then looking foolish where the horse did not race well, things didn't go well, and then selling the horse at a loss. I don't like that. It wanes on my ego, right? I consider this barn fairly professional. We do very well across the board. We can't do well with every single horse. No trainer can. And all we can do is try to erase the memories of mistakes or horses that didn't pan out with horses that did. And, we talk about, being lucky enough to purchase horses at various price points like Tally the Tab, Bridge Over Broadway, even Allure, horses that are going to do us some good down the road. And we're going to continue to acquire those types of horses. Some are going to work out, some are not. And then also Pretty Eyes and Lies tomorrow. I know Amy's been kind of biting her lip because, obviously this the first foal from her mare. Now the second foal from her mare, covered by short, looks amazing. Nothing like this filly. This filly, I think she is going to have a ceiling now. It appears to me she's going to have a ceiling of what her ability is right now. Doesn't appear that she wants to break through that ceiling. So is that ceiling enough to do the now winners of 1, now winners of 2 claimer types at Northfield? If the answer is yes, then I have no problem with that. But I don't know what that answer is. Somewhat we'll find out tomorrow in her qualifying event at Northfield Park tomorrow afternoon. So there's that. And then I open up my emails. Well, all this is going on as I'm waking up, right? The old engine's firing up in the head. I get my phone, I read the messages, Agent Black can't go. Yo, Mr. seems okay, we're going to keep an eye on him, we're drawing blood on him, we're drawing blood on NASA, okay, I see that. And then I go to my emails. And my emails are always unique, and it seems like we get a run. Right now, stake payment season's coming, so you have the people. I don't so much get the people anymore that are like, we should stake this horse to everything. I think this horse is an amazing horse. We don't get that anymore, right? We've all grown, I believe, and understood that there is a fine line sometimes to walk between being frugal and being responsible on both sides of the fence to our horses with respect to staking. And as I finish this video and I get to Northfield, I'm going to reach out to Joanne Staking, see if I can't get that staking booklet in place today, go over it, breeze through it, so to speak, and then I'll reach out to a panel, let's say a group of people I generally talk to, and they consist of far left to far right, not politically, but when it comes to how we are going to stake the horses. And of course, we always want to stay somewhere to the middle, but there always has to be that voice or two voices of reason saying, okay, I know you paid this for this horse. I know it's so early. Like, I can't literally look at one horse training right now and say, yeah, that's a horse we have to stake heavy. That's why they start these stake payments in February. And I always thought they just shortchange themselves. This industry just can't help shooting itself in the foot all the time. Why not start the staking, even at a discounted rate, at the sale? Especially for a program like ours. And I've said this a million times, but if we go to the sale to buy History Hanover for $80,000, because that's where I was going. That's where I was going to on History Hanover. And we end up getting it for $27,000 for a myriad of reasons. I can guess, I can tell you, none of them play into a role right now. The horse looks great, doing his work very, very well. So here we are sitting there with a ticket that we got for a lot less than we thought we would. Why wouldn't we simply walk over to the staking table and say, you know what, pay him into everything? Yeah. I feel that we got an enormous discount. Let's put some of that discount towards staking the horse. Don't have to worry about it again through February, March, April. It's done. And if you really want to solidify that, just say 10% off all staking done at the sale. It's a net gain across the board for every single stake race in horse racing. Net gain. And I don't know why they did. I was told that, they have to change the rules, and there's a couple of rules that it might change the rules then. It just seems like this industry just can't get out of its own way sometimes. And you know what I'm talking about. If you're out there, right, and you know all the things that you've seen or read or witnessed happen in this industry. I spoke in front of the New York legislature about their licensing. But if you ask anybody at the New York State Racing Commission, the board, whatever, whoever has those, this is how they're going to think. And I'm going to tell you right now. Well, if we move that threshold to 5, look at all the licensing fees we potentially could lose. But it never dawns on them, all the clients they could gain. The tax money spent in the state from doing that. But this is the short-sightedness of our industry. And it's not just the government. It's the way the entire industry is geared. I can spout about it. I was always told, if you don't have a solution, don't whine about the problem. Well, I do have a solution. I just don't. It always falls on deaf ears when it comes to many of the things we talk about. And it is worth noting. Just because I say it so doesn't mean it is. Right? Just because I truly believe in something doesn't mean it's right. But I do believe license reform. And we talk about the race office stuff and all the stuff that can be changed and fixed. These are all proactive steps, and I believe They all help. But, we got to get there. So, anyway, I didn't want to go down that path, but I did. In regards to staking, it is an incredibly stressful time of year. Not just the financial strain of it, but, because all those shares on the board, we're responsible for those, right? Which is fine. Somebody asked me the other day, geez, you got an awful lot of shares left on the board there, Anthony. I looked through the board. Every single horse that has at least one share left on that board is a horse that I rather like right now. It's fine. The bills every month, the staking will go on those. People can wait. You want to take your time and buy into them? Fine. But I would honestly, I'm going to say it honestly, I would be very surprised if we had shares left in more than 3 horses come late spring into summer, as we start to really gear up and get ready for stakes. The horses on that list that I've watched are training very good. I've been very happy with them, and I'm not the least concerned with them. So here we are. We're on the doorstep of stake payment season, so there's a lot of questions. As I said, I love opening up the emails this time of year. I get an email from somebody saying, I think it's important we get rid of all the horses that you don't believe are stake horses by February 15th. Well, that was the whole plan of getting them ready, right? We talked about Pretty Eyes and Lies. Rosa and Bobby is racing tonight. Capistrano Knights is qualifying tomorrow. We have a number of horses that we're going to be paying very close attention to over the next little while. In New York. I'm watching everything. And there's a reason they are ready now. So, some of the horses that we deem maybe aren't good enough, yeah, sure, we're probably going to move them on before that February 15th deadline for the sophomores. But it is worth noting, as I said, a two-pronged approach. The email had 2 points in it from my old buddy Joel, who was talking about hanging on to horses too long, and maybe the horses that don't show enough at 2 should be moved. Now, I'm going to tell everybody right now, there's going to be people out there saying, well, I had horses for a long time, and I'm telling you, if you just get rid of all the bad ones right away, it'll work out best for you in the end. All right, cool. So I'm going to tell you right now, if you rewind your memories a little bit, you'll remember a horse named Austral Hanover. Now, he was so bad training down that I put him in 2 sales while we were training him. Put him on gate, or I don't think they had preferred then. If they did, he was on preferred. Bought him back. No one was bidding on him. Went to put him in the Ohio-Delaware sale, the live sale. Took him out because he was worthless at the time. No one would pay $1 for him. He was literally worth $0, maybe -$, because he was waning on us. Got to the track, put his nose on the gate. The metamorphosis on qualifying day was extraordinary. A horse showed up. This horse that had never shown any drive, flickers of ability, and a terrible attitude, seemingly. This light bulb went on. I don't ever remember Austral Hanover putting in a poor mile for us in his entire life. Not one. Absolutely crushed them in the, I believe it was the Stallion Series final, or it may have been the Sire Stakes Consolation, but I don't think it was. Just jogged because we had the 2 best horses in the race. My brother Mark drove the other colt, the bar hopping colt. His name was right on the tip of my tongue when I was saying this, and I forget it now. It'll come to me. Loved him too. We ended up 1st and 3rd, but Austral Hanover jogged, and you could not find a more horrible looking animal training down. Now, we had bought some expensive horses. This was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. We were starting to get a little bit better in stock. We had bought a couple of good horses. We thought were good horses. We bought Time Is On My Side. Now, I will tell you this right now. Time Is On My Side trained down. He had ability. His work ethic was in question sometimes. He'd always, if he won a training mile, he'd win by a head. He was okay. Went out, raced, 3, 4, 5 times showed mile 54, 55, but every 2-year-old, at that time at Mohawk, it pays 54, 55. Not what you would call a great horse as a 2-year-old. We castrated him, turned him out, brought him back. Now, if he had been a $40,000 yearling instead of 165, maybe we would just put him on gate and get rid of him right there. Comes back at 3. Now 5. And almost $500,000 later, time is on my side. It's an open pacer. And I even told Joel, who was a partner on the best trotting filly we ever had, Tactical Mounds, at 2, she got beat in Georgia Downs. I took her to the Meadowlands to stretch her out. Long shot in her first race. I think I was 2nd or 3rd with her. She raced great. She won a maiden. Okay. With Mark. Nothing special. Come back at 3 and train back good. We were hopeful. A lifetime mark of 49 and a bit. And I don't know how much money she made. Lots. Later, she was Tactical Mounds. Think about it. There hasn't been that many female trotters win sub 150. One of them was ours. Just an ordinary horse at 2. So before you start down the path of Anthony, why do we have in New York? Why do we have Bobby? Why do we have Pretty Eyes and Lies and AC/DC and all these horses that might be? Because we don't know. And I can walk over to the right and take a far conservative approach and just draw a line in the sand and say, if you do not make this line at 2, you're gone. I don't want to do that because I have to also remember who we are. We're the stable. We aren't just in it for money. And that's the one thing everybody has to remember. I do get these emails from time to time talking about investments, return on investments. We must have sent it to the wrong place because horse racing is a terrible investment. I'm certain everybody's heard me say that. It is a huge risk, a huge gamble, but on the other side of that ledger, it's a lot of fun. And I've always approached it very simple. I talk about it, drill it into everybody, I tell everybody, and there is no way that you're watching this video that you haven't heard me say it. First thing, you've never once heard me talk about investment or return on investment about the stable or any horses in it, because it's a terrible investment. Secondly, you've heard me talk about the enjoyment, the entertainment that's attributed to it. You might say, okay. There is a level of entertainment in everything, sports included. Why do you buy the NFL package? Right? Why do you go away on a cruise? Why do you go to a football game or a basketball game or a hockey game? These are all sports that are geared around entertainment. Oddly enough, people wager on them also. But you can't own a football team. Well, of course you can. You won't. I won't. Or a baseball team, or a NASCAR car, or anything. But you can't own a horse in this sport. And it can't just be about the money, right? I don't like losing money. I don't like losing yours, and that's why I tell you all the time, I treat your money like it's mine. I don't like losing it, but at the same time, I'm not going to get rid of horses just because they aren't going to win races today. If I think that the horses are going to do well in 4 or 5 starts, I'm going to wait those 4 or 5 starts. And if I'm wrong, many times I am, then we'll move the horses on. And we've always done that because I don't want to continue to creep to the right where it's okay, not good enough, bye-bye, not good enough, bye-bye. There has to be a grace period. There has to be a timeline where you say, well, you're not good now. Let's look at what your positive traits are, what your negative traits are. Do I think that you're a better horse than you show right now? And if so, how can we possibly get you to that point? And at any point along that trail, if I'm wrong and you veer off and you're just not going to be good, exactly like Pretty Eyes and Lies. One of our clients messaged me the other day and said, Anthony, you talked about how good she was training, how much you liked her, how she, she beat up on Bobby. Well, there's two takeaways from that. One, training in 2.5 is not trotting in 59. So you have to be able, as I talk about all the time, and again, somebody messaged me and they said, I don't really understand when you talk about turning the corners and the hurdles. I apologize, I just don't understand. It's a great question. So you can train Pretty Eyes and Lies in 2.5 with no boots, just a set of trotting boots behind, or even bandages probably. No problem. Feels great. Train her in 2.2, little rickety in the turns, put the hobbles on her. She's going to need knee boots because you got hobbles on her. How do we get her to 2 minutes 59:58? And what if she can't? Those are the hurdles. From 2.5 to 58 is where you train and win a maiden non-winners at 2. Keep in mind, Bridge Over Broadway jogged the other night in 59:3. So you don't have to be awesome. You just have to put out an honest effort and have some ability. Two very important things. We talk about ability, mechanics, work ethic. And those last little hurdles, the ones that take you from 2.2 to 58. Well, those are the toughest ones to get through for some of these horses. But we're going to give them the proper amount of time to do so, right? If I race Bobby tonight and she's terrible, we'll probably give her one more start. If I race her again and she's not good, well, she'll be in the same boat that Pretty Eyes and Lies is in tomorrow. I trained you down. Amy trained you down, actually. Schooled you, qualified you, put you in to go twice. You made 2 breaks. You're back on the list. You're going to qualify tomorrow. Now you have to show me why you should still be in the barn. Because somebody else can race them. I just have nothing more frustrating to me than picking up the program and looking at a maiden trot where my horse is 20-1 morning line. Come on. Got to show me something. So again, today, the busy part of today, the bulk of today was built around answering emails, right? To Joel, and another great question, he's talking about the Broodmares. He said, you talk about your Broodmare band, you wanted horses that you liked, that were tough, that you had a lot of respect for. And he's right. That's what I want to build the Broodmares around. And we have too many Broodmares right now. Probably going to sell 2 or 3 of them this spring. Just 11. We get rid of 2. We had 13 Broodmares. It's way too many for us. We only need about 8. And that might even be high, but 8 is where I'd like to get to. He said, well, if that's the case, why did you breed Melisandre? Because you talked about how she, bit of a poser, didn't really put out an honest effort. She was small, mildly flashy, but didn't really fit the criteria of your Broodmare band. 100% correct. But I will say this. She is a blue blood bred filly. Very good family. Her brother's a stud here in Ohio that made $250,000. Second dam is Rebuff. Third, like Rumbuki. That entire line is, well, it's bred with Aki Svanstedt and his partners own the mare. 2 of the mares in that family, actually. So the breeding is there. She was $150,000 yearly. So obviously she was a well-bred, good-looking filly that just didn't turn out. Is it my favorite thing to do? No. But I will challenge everybody. Go and look at all the top horses right now in the industry, right? All our top horses, or even from a few months ago. In fact, rewind it. Open the program to Breeders' Crown Night. Look at all the horses that raced, all the good horses. Then look all their mares up, and you tell me if all their mares were good mares. Now, I say it all the time. There's a million ways to do things. There's a million ways to train a horse down. When it came to the Broodmares, I don't know enough, right? I rely heavily when it comes to crosses on Alan, on Steve, on Robert, in Naik in Europe. People that have input, people that know, people that watch these things. I'll defer to them. But no one knows for sure. And no one could look at me and say, I can't see on paper or in reality how Melisandre could be a good Broodmare. Well, that's just a silly statement. And that's not what Joel's saying. He's asking why we kept her. Well, I made it very well known that hour tag on Melisandre at the sale was 40,000. Somebody said, well, she brought 39. Well, nah, she didn't really bring 39, right? Because the sales company, our consignor and the sales company want to make as much off us as they can. So their job, I'm going to protect her to 40, and they're going to get paid a percentage on what she brings. Of course, she's going to bring 39. What was the last live bid on her? I don't know. I think Steve might know. I think we talked about it when we were at the sale watching it. I had a feeling it was 32. It's hard to watch the action, right, in real time. It moves quick. I believe the real time, the real dollar bid on her, the last live bid was probably 32. But we had drawn a line in the sand, as I said to Joel. We said it was 40. And at 40, we will pivot, get her in full. Do we keep her in full and keep the full, or do we sell her in full? I don't know. I was bidding yesterday on the Muscle Hill breeding that was up. A little bit older, but still very marketable. And when you look at the chimpanzee, which is the Chapter 7 line on Melisandre, you can't go to Walner, you can't go to anything with Chapter 7 in it. So it has to be the Muscle Hill line. In my mind, again, I never looked at the crosses, but Tactical Approach isn't marketable yet. Isn't any foals on the ground, or isn't any horses training racing yet. Tactical Landing, oddly enough, and Steve and I was talking about this the other day, or before at the sale, they just weren't bringing as much as they should, especially for a horse with a $20,000 stud fee. I was not the underbidder on the Tactical Landing breeding yesterday, but I did bid a little bit on it. And Tactical Approach, I love John's approach. Push the chips in. You know, we bred a bunch of horses to Tactical Approach. We brought some stallion shares. We'll probably buy another breeding. Maybe we just go that route and say, we're going to gamble that Tactical Approach is going to be a good sire. Same way we did with, this guy. This guy must have amnesia. Sir, how you doing, man? Here you go, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, have a good day. See you again tomorrow. Can't remember who I am either. Same way we did with Captain Corey, right? We have 4 weanlings on the ground by Captain Corey. Any breeder, any owner, anybody on earth would love to have those 4, especially after the year he had. So, excited about that. That doesn't always work that way, though, and you know that, right? Everybody remembers. Everybody was scrambling to get Tall Dark Strangers. It's not a lot of scrambling done now. You can never tell. The beauty of this industry is you can never tell. Everything is always so fluid and it's so fickle. So we have options, but the reason I kept Melisandre, 1, we didn't get what we wanted. We drew a line in the sand for price-wise. We didn't get what we wanted. Secondly, she is blue-blooded. She has deep pedigree, very good pedigree, and I'm okay with that. And I think most of our clients are okay with that also, with respect to purchasing and keeping Melisandre. So that's where we're at. A great question from Joel, and a great question also about the babies and why we keep them. That question is asked every year. The answer does not change year over year over year. You know, the reason we have the back end of the site built is so that if people disagree, people sitting there saying, Anthony, I know you talk about entertainment, but you know what? For me, I want to put myself in a position where our horses are doing well and I'm doing well with them. There's nothing wrong with that. That's why we have the back end of the site, so that people can move their shares around, buy them, sell them as they see fit. I can only tell you as the captain of the ship where we're sailing to, you know, what you want to do when you're on board. You know, that's why it was important that we build. That was one of the most important and one of the first components we built into the site was your ability to buy and sell shares. So, and that is why. You're all big boys and girls. I don't have to preach and tell you what it is. All I can tell you is the way that I see things, why we do things the way we do, and you can make your own decisions after that. So with that, I'm going to let you go. I am at the barn now. I am late. I'm going to get yelled at by Amy. For sure, she's going to yell at me. But it's cold. Still 9 degrees Fahrenheit. Anyway, we got some horses racing tonight. We got some horses racing tomorrow. We got one less racing Thursday, which is Agent Black. He's not going to make the trip. That's all right. He'll be fine the week after. We're just being super protective of him. In regards to why he was flat his last 2 starts, I think it boiled down to a couple of things. His liver count was high, well beyond high normal, so that could have played a major role. AST was mildly high, and I just don't think he likes, plus he had the weather, right? When I won with him, it was like today. It was cold, nice cork on him. He was great. Then you take that cork, you melt the track, and you put him in mud. It's a recipe for disaster, and that's exactly what his last 2 performances were. So with that, I'm going to let you go. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. I'm all done my emails, I think, for the most part now. If you have any questions regarding staking, broodmares, breedings, anything we've talked about moving forward, I am here, and that's what I'm here for. Take care, everybody. Have a great sunny but cold Tuesday. Well, hopefully sunny and not cold, wherever you are.